Hello, boys and girls. Let's go over what makes a good supply or demand zone. So these are the questions we're going to answer, and we'll go over each one. And I obviously nitpicked an example that would um, be good and show my points. They're not always as clear, but sometimes they are. So how long did we spend in the imbalance area? What does that mean? How much time did price take to create the imbalance? If there's if there's such a large imbalance in an area, price is not going to spend any time there. It's just going to shoot price the other way. So how long or how short we spent creating a supply or demand zone will affect how strong it is. How many times has the zone been retested? So here's one people get confused about, like support and resistance. The more a support and resistance level is tested, the stronger it is, right? And that makes sense. With supply and demand, it's the opposite. Supply and demand is the order flow in the market. So when you come back into that area and react to it, you're filling more orders. Therefore, there's not as many orders there. Therefore, it's weaker. So the best zones are not going to be tested at all. That's what I'm looking for. I want an untested zone. I want to be on that first test. So the more it gets tested, the more supply and demand gets tested, the weaker it becomes. What was the reaction created from the zone? So when we come down here, price comes down, stops, and this is the reaction created from here. Um, what did this imbalance do down here? Well, we broke supply, we broke supply, we broke supply. All this imbalance from the bottom caused this market turning move. So it's extremely strong. So then we look at maybe this imbalance here next. What did this imbalance do? Well, it was already through the supply, but it did break the supply. It did end up breaking more. So we can tell that those are strong. Now let's see. Once we get above these sellers here, there's nothing that these buyers have to overcome in the market, right? So the sellers will have to be created at some point. But essentially what that's saying is as we get up here, we are just taking out very weak sellers. So up here, these zones are getting weaker and weaker. The next thing we want to ask is where is the zone according to the trend, right? So we don't know when a trend's over until it's over. What I look for a trend being over would be demand starting to fail right up here. So about this point in the market, we would be looking at this whole trend here. This is the trend we're looking at, right? So if we imagine the bottom is $1 and the top is $100, we're paying for a product. When price comes back down, this is cheap according to our trend. This is expensive. So what does that mean? That just means the demand on the higher end of our trend up here is most likely going to fail. That's why you'll see me reference in some videos and stuff, half back, 50% retracement, because I'm looking at the demand that is at the cheaper price. That's all that means. That just adds probability that that zone will work. When trading a zone, how did we enter the zone? Did we consolidate or fall straight through? We'll look at that in a second. We'll go forward, see how these zones reacted. So looking at these zones, this bottom one, this is a zone I would take a trade off of for sure because price went straight up afterwards. Also, it stopped a downtrend. So that is the originating zone. That is the strongest zone. As we go up, these are still at cheap prices according to this overall trend. So I would buy these. This one, it starts getting at about 50%. Maybe I would buy that. I would have to see how price action reacts near it. Any of these higher zones here, I am not going to buy. So now let's go forward. So basically I'm saying I would trade these 4 zones at the bottom. And let's go forward and see what kind of reaction price gave us to these zones. So as we can see up here, very little reaction, if any, and we kind of eat through them. Come down here, a little bit more of a reaction, eat through it. Barely anything. This one we actually don't react to at all. So now we're getting into the areas we're interested in trading. We see once we get to about 50%, we do see a nice correction off of it. As we come back into the zone, now that it's tested, we expect to go through it, which we do. Now let's look at this next zone. Price finds buyers there. Let's see where we come down. Now, obviously, I'm trying to keep it as simple as possible. There's demand all through here, but we're not going to get into that. We're just going to look at this strong move at zones that proved how strong they were. So this next zone we come into, nice correction off of it. The next one, barely see anything. That happens sometimes, right? This one, an excellent trade off of. And the bottom one is where we get the reversal we're currently working on right now. So we could see our strongest zones came from the bottom. Now to answer the question, when trading the zone, how did we enter the zone? I want price, if we're coming into a demand zone, I want price to be free falling into it. Why? Well, because if we stop before the zone, that just has a chance for sellers to catch up, accumulate more orders. And then if we start breaking down, we're creating more supply in the market. So I don't want to see supply created right before a zone. So if we look at this, which zone failed? This zone failed right here. Well, we stopped slightly before it, pulled back, and created supply. So once we get down there, I'm not too confident that that's going to hold. This, on the other hand, we just free fell into, and it held beautifully. And this one too, we just dropped right into it and then reacted. And we could see when there is an imbalance in an area, price doesn't stay there. Price, boom, those orders are filled and it's gone. You know, you're barely going to get a chance. When you see price start to hover, like this is an hourly chart. So in this area, we probably did a little chop and started to hover. But if we didn't go, that's a sign that we're probably going through that level. So these are the questions we want to answer, what we want to look for. Let me make it readable again. And I hope that helped. It's a lot of information. I tried to pick out a good example. And let me know if you have any questions. We can definitely go over more. Thanks for watching.